I really, truly believed in that once, but you don't. And I am fucking livid. Absolutely livid. I want to go to my bed. I want to go to my grave bed. I can't tolerate it. But you know what, for my kids, I'll live every day of this misery for my kids. Every bloody day of it, yeah? As I have done for 10 years. As his mum's got to do, as Billy's anticipating he's got to do for 16 years until his little one's 18, who's just about 2 years, I know, mate. All right, I'm livid. Because we're supposed to be able to rely on it. MI5, MI6, yeah, our security service and our secret service. Like the police, we're supposed to be able to rely and trust in them. Public trust is lost. You wonder why? Because what you're truly bloody defending is the very corrupt people, the criminals, not us.
Yeah. So what is it? Like you got a court date as well?
Yeah, court and social service and I don't know exactly what's happened. The technical waiting was talking the big court.
Ah, so they're
maybe
doing the same
okay,
thing.
Maybe be more okay. They tell me adoption or foster care or you take care. I don't know.
Are they being like truthful about everything, or are they doing dodgy stuff?
I don't know because my boyfriend they tell me he's lying. I don't know. And I waiting what's happened.
Well, it's happened to a lot of people here, so you know.
I have my friend same, they take care, baby. The moment is still with foster care. She can't in Nigeria, I don't know, it's kind of small. They tell me to care.
Yeah, anyway, thanks.
I'm not about the anti-vaccine. That's not the reason we're out here today. What we're out here today is to raise the awareness of one of the biggest problems that we have within the UK, within the children's services sector. Children's services is actually supposed to be for supporting children and protecting and safeguarding children, right? Okay. But does that include telling lies in reports to make sure that child is removed? From the moment that child is removed and taken away from the family and they've had to tell lies, it goes from safeguarding, it goes to abuse. Trust me, when I come involved with social services myself, I had a good look on the many Facebook pages to look for some sort of clarification, to get some sort of understanding why I was seeing lies in my report, and see if there's anyone else in a similar situation. Well, I did look, and I found loads. I found tens and thousands of parents all saying the same thing. Right? When I say saying the same thing, it's all slightly different, but they've all got something in common. When I say something in common, children's services workers either have twisted something in the report that could be bad, but twist it so it looks 10 times worse to make it more profitable for the child to be taken, or they blatantly lied and used somebody else's thing in the report. So basically, when we look at this now, how many children are being taken through lies? Is it acceptable for a child to be taken and placed for adoption through lies? I understand if somebody's really abusing their child or neglecting their child, the child needs to be safeguarded and protected. But a child shouldn't be stolen from their loving family through lies. Parents have had lies told them time and time again in the secret family court. The secret family court is a secret family court because they've got a lot to hide. Right? That's what you've got to understand. They have a major thing in their brain that they've got to hide. They've got to hide everything they do. They're the biggest criminals. You think thieves on the street are criminals. You think robbers on the street are criminals. You think drug dealers are criminals. I'll tell you what the biggest fucking criminals are, and I will swear, because it gets me angry. Children's services workers are the biggest criminals going. From the moment they come into your house and they tell a lot of lies to remove your child or start the ball rolling to take your child, that's not acceptable because they've crossed that line. It is no longer about protecting the child. It's about what they can gain. It's actually more about abuse of the child. That's what they're doing. They're supposed to protect children from abuse. But what these scumbags are actually doing, up and down the UK, and I'm not just prioritising just Croydon, it ain't just Croydon, Please don't think it's just Croydon. Sutton's bad, Epsom's bad, social services bad, Lambeth, we go up to North London, Hillingdon, all them different areas. Let me tell you now, social services are bad wherever you are in the UK. If you've got a corrupt one, I'm telling you now it's bad. And it's not just bad for the area, it's bad for anyone that comes into contact with that children's services worker. Right, that child then will be placed for adoption. That child will not see its parent until it comes looking for its child, looking for its parent when it comes to the age of 18. Only then the child is allowed to look for the parent. The parent is not allowed to look for their child. Right, so that is not acceptable as far as I'm concerned. From the moment there is abuse from a social worker on their practice to take somebody's child and place for adoption, what, for £32,500? Don't make me sick. The first one involved in my case was an American guy, his name was Jeffrey Williams. Jeffrey Williams come into my life, I thought, you know what, I'll go and answer a few questions at the local authority. There's not going to be much about it. He weren't interested in myself or what my partner had to say. He went away, he wrote his reports. When I read the reports, I was gobsmacked. I was like, who's this he's written this about? I'm confused. However, as time went on, I found out a lot of children's services workers are doing this around the UK with many other parents. A lot of these parents are here today, they've had lies told about them to take their loving child away from them. So, bearing in mind, I had this social worker, this was in 2020, come into my life, and he seemed all nice, and then he says to us, comes to see us the day before the report is served, he comes to see us and he says, I'm coming to say goodbye to you today, your report will be with you by tomorrow, I wish you good luck, and we're not looking to remove your child. However, that wasn't the case at all. They was actually working straight away from that moment now, from a lot of lies that he told, basically moving towards taking my child when she was born. My child was 6 days old, she went into a foster placement. Not too far from here, I'll be honest with you, I could walk there within 5 minutes, right from here. My child was placed in this placement and she was held like a prisoner with her mum for 11 months. Her mum then lost the child. Right? My missus lost her child to adoption. I then took them to court for a year. And basically I achieved all targets to get my child home. I'd done everything I could. The judge said, you couldn't have done more to get your child home. It's going to be in the judgment. It's going to be released in the judgment. You could have done more. But guess what? Because I have PTSD and I'm doing long-term counselling, which I needed to do, which I resourced for 4 years before my daughter was born. It took 4 years to get on it, and the pandemic slowed it down. They turned around and said, one social worker who's not even trained in that field, turned around and said I had at least 12 to 18 months work. To take 12 to 18 months work left of work to do, which my 2-year-old daughter, I don't fit into her timeline. They want her to be placed with potential adopters and not return home to her loving family. My daughter has me as her dad, she has her mum as her mum, she has a brother and sister who are absolutely heartbroken, right? What reason? What, because of the timeline for myself? That's not acceptable, people. What, timelines? How can you take somebody's child and say, oh, you're doing very well, you're doing so well, you're doing everything you can to get your child home, but however, your timeline doesn't cut it. So guess what, people? I don't get to see my child for another 16 years unless she comes looking for me, right? That is Sutton Council that's done this. We've only come to Croydon today because a young mum had her child 5 years of age in Croydon Social Services and placed a child in a fostering placement. She had 2 children. They allowed her to keep the youngest at home, but the eldest they placed in a foster place. The child, unfortunately, lost her life in the care. In a foster placement. She had a seizure, she lost her life. It's unexplained, it's been covered up. Guys, no one should cover up the death of a child. No one should cover up the death of a child. That is not acceptable. Right? No one should be profiting off the back of any child. Right? We're in 2022 going into 2023. There is a drive now to take more and more children. One of my friends was talking earlier on today about basically what they're looking to do. They're looking to be removing more and more children from your schools. They're trying to teach sexual education in your schools. Believe it or not, it makes you sick to your stomach. They want to bring sexualised education to the school to bring your children to older ages than what they should really be. And that is not acceptable either. This is what government we've got. Right? The government are promoting paedophilia. That is what is the truth about this government in the UK. And I don't care. MI5, if they don't like it, come and shoot me. I don't care. I'm willing to die for this cause. Right? Same as many of these parents, because you know what? We have parents that are suffering. Right? You have children that are suffering. How many children are suffering? Right, I'm going to just read off a couple of things to you, right? And bear in mind, when multiple children get taken, and the children get placed for adoption, multiple children, right? Ideally, we would hope they would keep all the children together, all the siblings together. They try their best to divide them up. I'm going to tell you the reasons why. First single child that placed for adoption, your local authority, as in Croydon Council, £32,500 your local authority will get, right? For a child being placed for adoption. £32,500 for that one single child placed for adoption. And at the end of the day, they like to keep them all separate and they want the children to go off to all different places because there's more money in it. But however, this is the guidelines that are set from government, okay? It's £32,320 for one child when they're placed for adoption. That is part of the budget that's released to your local government, right? For two children, if they go together, only if they go together, is £52,128. That is what two children's worth. Three children is £70,894. Right? These are living beings. These ain't your pair of jeans you buy from a shop. These ain't your trainers going down the Foot Locker down the road. These are children that are being stolen from loving families. Right? To be honest with you, I'm standing here now, and I've been doing this now for the last 18 months. And what I've come across is the worst, heinous crimes you can come across. From the moment a social worker gets up in the morning, and they have to tell lies to take the child away from the family, that's when it crosses the line. It crosses the line from care to abuse. Right? That's abuse of a child. The amount of children we know that go through the care system, and then after the care system, basically we know of an 18-year-old boy released straight from the care system, nowhere to go. Also a child only yesterday, 18 years of age she reached, and they kicked her out of her bag yesterday. At the end of the day, they're supposed to be taking the children to safeguard them. They are not safeguarding them. Right? Like I said earlier on, there's a young lady who's lost her child. Right? Her child was 5 years of age in a foster care placement. The poor mother wasn't even invited to her own child's funeral. This is children's services for you. This is the corruption. This is what we're facing. Right? Many of you guys will be walking along there with your children and think, you know what, that's never going to happen to me. I really get on my knees and I will pray that it never happens to you. Because no family should ever suffer the way any of us have suffered, or any people that you might know that have got similar circumstances to us. Trust me, no one should ever suffer like this. There's people from all walks of life that this happens to. It doesn't just choose wealthy, he doesn't just choose the poor. There's police officers, all sorts of people this has happened to. Children are getting taken once every 20 minutes. Guys, that's never okay with anyone in my book. It's never okay to abuse a child. And do you know what? I not even know, right, African communities need to be aware of this, right? Within the African communities and also the Romanian communities as well, I'm going to highlight this to you. The social work drive for this year into next year is to remove Romanian children, and they're going to target African children. The reason they are targeting African children is to get ethnicity right, because they do not want too many white children to be placed for adoption, because then it doesn't seem fair. Each local authority, like Croydon Council, Sutton Council, they all get each year a certain amount of children that they need to place for adoption. Right? So think of it this way. If they get a quota, I don't know, 500 children that need to be placed for adoption, for them to get their additional bonuses at the end of the year, like a pay performance rated bonus, they need to be able to adopt so many children. Children are money to social workers. That is what they are. 9 times out of 10, especially during this pandemic, a children's services worker might only do a WhatsApp call with your child. They're not even coming and visiting the children in foster placements. They are doing nothing for the child. They don't care as long as their mortgages get paid. That is what they're doing. Guys, I welcome any of you people in the street, please stop and talk to us. If you're about to become a father, you're about to become a mother, you come from the care system, I invite you to please come, make yourself known to us, come and chat to us, because at the end of the day, people, we have some information that you might need, especially if you're going into fatherhood or early motherhood. Because guys, really you need to know what we are doing, what they are doing to us within the UK. And to be honest with you, if you follow the money, where the money is, where the money's hidden, how the adoption agencies are set up, and how the fostering agencies are set up, and then you don't ask yourself, why did the social worker lie? Why did the social worker lie? I'll tell you why they lied. Because the monetary value is involved in taking someone's child and getting rid of that, exposing that case. I'm going to use that word, exposing that case. Basically, it's all about money. It's all about what they gain from adoption. Yeah, the local authority gain, and each children's services worker gain pay performance rated bonus. They will deny this in the field of place, but why advertise this on multiple employment agencies?
My grandchildren were stolen by a corrupt family court. They lied, they committed perjury, and we lost our grandchildren. You can see them here on that picture there. We had done nothing wrong. Our family was targeted for the removal of our grandchildren. From then on, I have been investigating children's services, and they privatised children's services, so it was easy for children to disappear out of the care system. In 2008, Tony Blair made a white paper called Adoption Vision for Change. This allowed the privatisation of fostering and adoption. This made regional adoption agencies, where the children simply were taken out of duty of care in the council and placed into privatised fostering and adoption companies. These fostering and adoption companies are owned by social workers, by solicitors, by doctors, people that are profiting from our children. The children are now assets of the state. I have been investigating individual social workers who have their own companies, who we have found to be child traffickers. There are whole gangs of child traffickers within social services, trafficking children abroad, trafficking children to research hospitals, for genomics research, So biosciences, anti-aging products, stem cell harvesting, adrenochrome harvesting, whatever they can use a child's body for, whatever they can use a child's body for, they will sell it on a child, a baby. These children are disappearing out of the care system. Through lockdown, and this is from UCAM University, 213,000 children disappeared out of the care system through lockdown, 2019, 2020, 2021. 230,000 children. You may tomorrow get a knock at your door, or your child targeted in a school because they're putting social workers into school now so that they can ask questions of the children, and then they come and knock on your door. As soon as you have contract with those social workers, they will build up a case, they will lie, they will put words in your mouth, they will find other people to lie about you, psychologists. Psychologists write fake reports. They use drug and alcohol testing and then corrupt those tests and lie. They will build up a lying case and then they will take it into a family court. The family court are corrupt. The social workers, the solicitors, the judges are all corrupt, and they will not listen to the families. You cannot get your truth out in a family court because they are all working as a corporate business to remove your children. If you get a knock on the door from a social worker, do not open your door. Do not open your door to a social worker. As soon as they come through your door, they will start building a case. Record everything. Record everything. Every time you have interaction with a social worker, have your camera on your phone open. Social workers are refusing to wear body cameras. We have asked for social workers to We have asked social workers to wear body cameras and they're refusing. This is because they cannot stop lying. Social workers up and down the country are now running their own foster care companies. They are making money. They are making money out of our children. Don't ever think that if a family has had a child removed, they did something wrong. Many families are not able to get the truth out. They're crying out for help and there's nowhere to go because every system is corrupt. You cannot complain. You cannot complain to the regulatory authorities. You cannot complain to the local ombudsman. You cannot complain to Social Work England. You cannot complain to the police. You cannot complain to the Solicitors Regulation Authority. They ignore your complaints because every system, every corporate system in this child stealing corporate business are all in on it together. They're all part of the same child trafficking network. Tony Blair started this in 2008. Tony Blair and his Fabian Society criminal advisors within the government knew exactly what they wanted to do in 2008, and that was to remove as many children as possible and disappear them through the newly formed privatised adoption and fostering agencies. You will know a family before too long that has had children removed. You will know people on your street. You will know people in your families that are having their children snatched by social services. Don't look down on these people. They often have done nothing wrong. Come alongside them and support them. Start speaking out in your communities And don't be afraid or ashamed to tell your truth, because we're all standing here as people that have had this happen to us. All of us have stories about how social services have lied and committed perjury to steal our children. Every single one of us here. And we're here because of its injustice. If we had done something wrong, we wouldn't be standing in front of you today. We wouldn't be here speaking out about the corruption of social services. We have done nothing wrong. And the people that you will come across, the Children's Commissioner's Office have a target, and this is from the Children's Commissioner's Office, of 2.5 million children by 2025 they want to remove. 2.5 million children they want to remove by 2025. And because now it is privatised, there is no accountability for where the children are going. Nobody knows where these children have gone. I know from my research that social workers have their own private companies, they have their own networks, they are connected to other corporate businesses, logistics companies, bioscience labs, all sorts of different companies. And I've been doing this research for 3.5 years since they took my grandchildren. So please come and ask questions. Come and take one of our leaflets. Please don't ignore this, because it could be somebody you know next targeted by social services for the removal of their children. This is an agenda. This is heads of children's services not allowing the social workers to do their jobs of supporting families to keep their children. We have whistleblower social workers that are coming to us and say we're not able to do our jobs properly because the heads of children's services are just telling us to go and get a court order. Go and get a court order. Lie. They make social workers lie in assessments so that it's easier to remove the children. And the family courts are corrupt. The judges are corrupt, the solicitors are corrupt, the social workers are corrupt, the psychologists are corrupt. They are all working together as one entity to remove children with lies and corruption. Please be aware for your families, for your friends, for your neighbours, because they are coming for our children. They are coming for tomorrow's child. They're putting social workers into schools because they're not getting enough children. They're putting social workers into schools so they can speak to your children alone and ask them leading questions. Was Mummy nice to you yesterday? Did she feed you last night? They ask questions, leading questions of the children, and then come knocking on your door. Please come and speak to us, come and get more information, come and listen to our stories. Thank you for listening.
Tomorrow, Saturday, she's going to be at Parliament Square. This woman, yeah, is a foot soldier, and do you know what? Her research, yeah, she's a clever lady as well. Her research is spot on, and I learned so much from you, so thank you, Jane. I love you to bits. Let's get on to social services, shall we? Oh. Are you going to become a social worker, anybody? Anybody want to be a social worker? Help with social care? Well, a lot of the countries since the pandemic, a lot of things have gone to pot, as we know, yeah? One being the NHS. The NHS has got problems with poverty and homelessness, yeah? Overpopulation, climate change, immigration stresses, civil rights, racial gender inequality, healthcare availability. Hasn't stopped children's social services, has it? Oh, no, it has not. Because children's social services take a child into care every 20 minutes. So, how long have we been out today, guys? We've been out since 10 o'clock this morning. Yeah, so every 20 minutes a child goes into care. How many children a day is it?
70 children.
Are you hearing this, guys? 70 children a day are going into the care system. We look like climate change, I don't know, against COVID nut jobs. We don't care. Because I'll tell you something, by 2025, yeah, it's going to be you or a neighbour, a family member, and they're going to be knocking on your door. And that is why everybody here today, yeah, everybody here is affected by the system. And that's why we're here, because we want to warn you guys, we want to help you guys. So if you could, just pay attention to what we're saying. We're not just here for the sake of it, guys. We've had a child that's passed away in care, okay? A child that was taken wrongfully from a mother who's here today. God bless her. And her daughter, may her daughter rest in peace, died in the care of the care system. So how does that work out? Can someone please explain that to me? You, on the scooter? No? Alright then. And can somebody explain to me how a child can be taken into the care system and die in the care system? Got your attention now, yeah? It's murder. It's fucking murder. I don't care, I swear. It is murder. Parents committing suicide because the children are being taken. Oh, you can't see your child. Sorry, you've got a bit of PTSD. You can't see your child till your child's 18. Parents are committing suicide. Yeah? We all know somebody that's committed suicide because their children have been taken into care. Guys, you can't just walk past. You can't. You've got to wake up. In your droves, people in their droves. We're storming London about the COVID. Come on, this is about the children, guys. This is about the children. What is going on with our children? 80% of children that get taken into care are abused. My daughter's come back to me with a scar right down her face. She came back to me with stress alopecia. Yeah? My daughter came back to me 5 stone. She's been in the care system. Because they care, don't they? They really care. My arse do they care. All they care about is about the money. All they care about is the money that they get for each child that they take. You take the money out of the care system, there wouldn't be a care system. They're all in it for the money. Tell me why entrepreneurs in Dubai are investing in adoption agencies and fostering agencies in the UK. I'll wait. Anybody? I'll wait. Why are social workers opening up fostering and adoption agencies? Well, this will explain why they live in £1 million houses and driving 50 grand cars, won't it? But this is human trafficking, guys. This is human trafficking. But with children, when you move a person from there to there, and there's a transition of money from there to there, it's called human trafficking. This is what they're doing. They're trafficking the children, guys. And you may not be listening, you may be listening, but please, just try and listen to these people today. I'll start talking. I've had 7 years of it, guys. I've learnt my stuff. I learn from my colleagues. Right, my colleagues, yeah? Researchers, yeah. I learned from Jane, she's a researcher. She's a clever lady. It can happen to anybody, guys. Don't think you're off the radar. We know police officers that have had their children taken into care. We know
abuse their rights as well.
Yeah, word. There's a lot of abuse with police force. We won't go into that because it's a power job, isn't it? It's a little power job. Ooh, get you a little bit of power. Beat the missus up when I go home. Or police officers. Well, why are police officers coming helping us? Police officers should be standing beside us. Why is it that children in care, yeah? For instance, my daughter, 14, yeah, when she was 14, she's 18 now, thank God she's back, she's home, but she's a bit damaged, yeah? But she's back. Remember there's children that die in care, guys, there's children dying in care. Let that sink in. Children are dying in the care system. Parents are committing suicide daily because every 20 minutes a child is being ripped away from the family into the care system. Now the University of Baltimore, the law of Baltimore it is, they did a, I don't know what it's called, they did some research, that's it, research. And they looked into the trauma of removal of a child. The trauma of removal to the child is so much more severe than if the social services did what they're meant to do, which is support the family, keep the family together, yeah? And work with the family. That is proven. The trauma of removal of a child from their biological parents is so severe, it affects them for the rest of their lives. They will walk around with it for the rest of their lives. And that's the children. Okay? Now, the three main things in this world, three main things. The highest earners, yeah? Number one, drugs. Yeah? Not in any order, by the way, because I'm just telling you three earners, top earners. One, drugs. Two, arms. Three, human trafficking. Sex trafficking. Yes, they're trafficking children to sex parties, yeah? You know about it because it's been on the news. The MPs have been arrested. Where do you think those children come from? Whose kids do you think? They have tunnels, guys. They're using tunnels to transport children to these nonces that are now arrested. But do we have to stand here, day in, day out, and keep shouting on about it? Yes, we do, and we will. We're not going anywhere. Because what I witnessed myself, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. I don't have enemies. I'm a Christian woman. I forgive. But if I did have an enemy, I wouldn't wish it on my enemy. I would not wish for the pain of removal of a child. There's people here today that are with me. They've just had their children forcibly adopted. It's like, well, yeah, thanks for making a child, do you know what I mean? Thanks for that. We're going to £32,320. You can see a child when she's 18 or he's 18. That's disgusting, guys. To be told to be given a life sentence for what? Because you've got PTSD. Because when you were younger, you were a little bit of a rogue, wasn't every teenager? So you and now have got a life sentence for making a mistake. So close the prisons then. Close the prisons. Shut the prisons down. Because what they're saying is rehabilitation doesn't work. What they are saying is that if you commit a crime 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you're still the same person. So you go to prison, you go inside, you coming out, doing all, becoming a Christian, whatever, changing your life, they will use that to take your child. So close the prisons then. What they're saying, they can do what, the point I'm trying to make, guys, is they can do whatever they want. They can move the goalposts to whatever situation, because they're part of the Agenda 21. Dismantle the family and let the government parent the children. That is the agenda, guys. It's written, it's real, it's an agenda, it's New World Order. And it's coming to a door near you very soon. It's not just to us people here. Everybody now knows somebody whose child has been taken into care. Everybody knows of someone who's got social services on their case, looking in their fridge, looking under your bed, looking in your cupboards, trying to find something so they can snatch your child. And you ask, why are they doing that? Because they have to meet quota. They have to meet a certain amount of adoptions per month. They have to meet quota, or the local authority doesn't get the funding from the government. So then they're sending in social workers that are not even qualified. They've got children on boats, guys. There's children in caravans. There's children being kept in caravans. I'm not joking, it's not a joke. There's children being kept in caravans. We have video footage of it. One day we'll have a screen here, we'll show you. We'll show you. They've got a boat up in Merseyside where they're keeping the North's children. Basically, they haven't got enough places or placements for the amount of children they're stealing from the biological parents. It's a top earner. Why human trafficking? The police get involved. But when you call about a child in care, the police do not get involved. You can abuse a child in care, you can do whatever you want, and you don't get any repercussions. I tried to get a social worker arrested because he was a nonce, looking at my daughter and driving alone with her when she was 14. What's a grown man doing driving my daughter when she's 14? I made a complaint to the police, had a crime number, phoned up the office, he was promoted to team leader. Well done, pat on the back. Yeah? What do you think is happening to these children that are missing? 178,000 children through the pandemic have gone missing. One child is enough, guys. One child is too many, right? 178,000 children are missing from the care system when they could be at home with their loving parents. But watch out. Sorry. But watch out, guys, because it's coming. It's coming, cars. It's about time we started taking control back. What have we got to lose? We've already been over by the system, and so have some of you, and some of your friends or some of your family. So we're going to start knocking on social workers' doors. We're going to start, if we've got proof and evidence of child trafficking, we will be going to social workers' addresses and we will be doing citizens' arrests. But we need you people to be with us. We need everybody to be on the same page. Because we're not talking about a bag of sugar. We're not talking about addressing Primark. We're not talking about a new pad in Next, yeah? We're talking about children that don't have a voice, that are being abused and sexually abused in the care system. Now, I wish you all the best. God bless. I'm done.
Basically, we recognise the need for social services like the fire service, like the police, like the armed forces, like the Royal National Library Institution, anything that's supposed to be there to help, protect, promote, like the NHS is supposed to promote well-being, like the RNLI is supposed to be there to save lives at sea. Louder? Right. Social services, unfortunately, are not a protective state that they once may have been. They have been corrupted, unfortunately and regrettably, by corporate elites, wealthy, who are investing in their services, exploiting them for bonuses, performance bonus and bonus schemes. Now, I'm going to cover some facts. I'm going to cover a lot of information that I've got. So, this is imagery of, say, 8 children who should still be here, but through a system are no longer here because of their failings. The more a social worker exploits their position by going after any child, any family they can for their targets and incentives, diverts them from being readily available to really get involved with the right problematic issues of a child at risk or a family neglecting. So what do we do? As a nation, how do we change this? How do we get change? If social services are not accountable, unlike those of the police or the armed forces, soldiers as individuals are accountable, how are we to deal with this if social work are given free rein from the very top of the powerful financial elites who have wealth, with it power, and from it can influence, like when Boris goes for an election. He gets investors, he gets people putting money injected into his campaign, like other MPs running for the PM position. Well, these people are actually directing the direction of change, the way they want it to be, or how it's always been, promoting it or preserving it. That's how it is. They want to continue this way. So it's in their interest for whatever their sordid, dark reasons are. There is a lot of child trafficking in this country and throughout its Commonwealth.
children are being trafficked through the network of child services, and social services, social workers may not realise ultimately what they are working towards, and that is the facilitation of children being puked out in all directions to all sorts of heinous individuals and organised bodies who want to exploit children for a number of reasons. That's 8 of the faces alone out of hundreds. Tens of hundreds over decades failed by a system that has been corrupted by a corporate state, by wealthy people wanting these children taken from families to go in all directions to appease those that can't have children, those that are same-sex couples, those that want obviously a child for sexual gratification, those that want child for research over in Qatar, as one of my friends here has unearthed, Citra Research. One of the social workers from Britain, well known now, exposed for doing what he's been doing, assisting the trafficking networking of children. It's a shocking revelation. I understand to anyone that's not been researching, it's going to be shocking. How is this happening in Britain? How comes thanks mate. How comes you haven't realised it years ago? How comes you haven't been aware of it? It's because they don't want you to know the truth of what they've been doing. But people are waking up to a number of things in this country, and this is another one of them that you really unfortunately are going to have to awaken to, because the abuses against our future generation is just that. If you take a child and put it in the system and you fail that child by that child dying, there's a mother here whose child died in the system, regrettably. Fortunately, her attentions are directed away from us, so she won't get upset. She was earlier, regrettably. Her child has lost in the system. Right? How is this happening? If we are such bad people as parents, how comes our children are not dying at our hands? How comes our children are being taken? Then why are we not being charged? Why are we not being found guilty in a court? Because we're not being put through that process. They're just taking the children on a whim of reason, excuses, exploitation, and excuses on top of excuses to do so and prolong them. Once they're in the system for 6 months to a year, chances of you getting the child back is very slim. Yeah, it's heinous. I've got here information, at least 10,000 children in care were placed in potentially unsafe accommodation, including caravans, tents, barges. Now, I can tell you, research John Wedger, former Metropolitan Police distinguished detective who exposed a paedophile network on the actual waterways of Britain. Yeah, barges, children exploited. Yeah. Sky News investigation has found that these children, about 10,000, have been hoisted out of their homes to then be placed into non-suitable accommodation. Right? The figures obtained are under the Freedom of Information Act, so you can find this out for yourself. Don't have to believe me. This was dated Friday the 19th of February 2021 by Nick Martin, People and Politics correspondent, and Fiona Mackey, news producer, and that's Sky, alright? So you can't give your child a good home, according to a social worker who then has that added with their team leader, then senior managers, panels and etc. called CAFCAS, Scottish Children's Report Administration, and TUSLA, if I remember, in Ireland. These are networks. They are networking the children, basically. CAFCAS, yeah, they're an intermediate. See you later, Tony, God bless you. Catch up soon, brother. They are through to that of TUSLA in Ireland, to SCRA, Scottish Children's Report Administration in Scotland. And I've got a badge here. Yeah. Stronger for Scotland, stronger for Scotland. I'll tell you what, we think we've got the thumb screws on us here. We wouldn't want to be in Scotland, believe me, I have been. And this is where my problem started. crystal ball social work seem to all be clairvoyant. Yeah, they all seem to be mystic mix. The crystal ball method. It was brought in with Tony Blair's excuse, just like the police can stop someone on the street under Section 1 of Case 1984, that's the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, they can stop you for reasonable grounds to suspect. Social workers can use, they call it social, future emotional harm. So they can basically suggest that there's going to be an offence, a crime into the future. Yeah, we're all fucking mystic mix. Yeah, who can turn around and say that they're going to basically do something tomorrow? How do we know what we're going to do tomorrow until tomorrow comes? Right. Sky News also reports a young woman, Ashley. Ashley told Sky News that while she was staying in a caravan, the people who lived next door gave her home-brewed alcohol, and that her support workers allowed it to happen even though she was underage. I drank it. The support staff did as well. I went round to the next door caravan on my own. After a few drinks I got lightheaded. I felt like I was going to pass out. I heard them lock the door from the inside. I knew something wasn't right. I panicked. I managed to get out and ran. They started chasing me. I never felt so much danger as I did in that moment. The next day, Ashley says she was told her social worker what happened. At her placement, she was taken to a hotel for the night where she had to share a room with 2 support workers. A day later, she was sent to live in the home of someone she had never met before and was taken to a caravan park again a few weeks later. When I was in the caravan, I felt pure fear. It was my 3rd move in just over a month. My GCSEs had finished and I knew that I hadn't achieved well because of everything that was going on. Now that is from a teenager who, again, reinforces what Sky had exposed about 10,000 children. What, they can't live in their own family homes, but they can be exported into these actual systems and to these sites, like a caravan park or a tent. Yeah? The fact is they're making a hell of a lot of money. Hounslow Social Services are paying an average of £700 a week to a foster carer. Now that's not including the fee to the actual agency, that's just to a foster carer, £700 a week. And they can still claim universal credit and it's all tax free. Yet if you're a parent and you're on universal credit, you'd be lucky. You'll be lucky. 2 child cap, as one of the mums just told me. You'll be lucky, if you can survive a month on 360 quid with 3 or 4 children. But yet they can give foster agency parents, so-called parents in fostering, £700 an average a week. And they can also be claiming universal credit. Yeah, it's disgusting. This is the state of this sodding country. We heard yesterday MPs saying enough is enough about Boris. Well, I can tell you this, do a little research. He's understudy that's sat right next to him. So Sahari, Sahari is the actual education secretary. Well, Sahari has been around the period of November to December 2021 pushing the agenda on social work to take more children through the school network. So sit them in there, look for an excuse, start a case, go around the homes, snoop and say, oh, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. Take the children out for any reason from their homes, put them with strangers, put them in these accommodations that are unfit. We've got migrants that are saying that ex-forces barracks that I've even stayed in are not fit to stay in. But yet they've got children going into tents and in caravans rather than work with their families and keep them at home in a family way. They're breaking up the family unit of Britain for their own greedy gain, because they have succumbed to the actual exploitation from mid-management to CEO level to corporate state above them all that are enforcing that they do this for extra income, incentives, bonus scheme, performance bonus. Neil McAvoy, take my hat off to Neil McAvoy. He was a member of the Welsh Parliament up until about a year ago. He started listening to the like of me and other parents across the board. He knew about this but didn't know what he could do. About the exploitation of children from their homes, from their families, he knew about it. He then heard from one of my closest friends the most heinous side to another parent. He decided to get more involved. That man is no longer in politics. He no longer is with the Welsh Parliament because they used every flipping ounce they could to get him out after he brought South Wales Police into order to look at investigating corrupt practice in social services in Wales. They closed ranks, they got that man out. That's another one gone, another good man, another good person that was looking at the fabric of what is right, decency in Britain, and they got rid of him, yeah? But yet they'll keep people like Boris and Apisa, like Sadiq, who are willing to be their mouthpieces, who are allowing this in 32 boroughs in London alone to go on, let alone around the country, let alone around the British Commonwealth. They're doing this across the board. It's not just here, we export into the likes of America, our ways, yeah, right into Australia, our Commonwealth, New Zealand, yeah, Canada. Across our British Commonwealth, they are exploiting in the westernised world their children. They're doing it in Far East, they're doing it in obviously northern regions, North Africa, right into Somalia, and they exploit the children. Human trafficking is not just in those actual second and third world countries, it's in the western countries. It is going around like a vicious circle, like twisters. Office of National Statistics, 20th of January 2021. Office of National Statistics state, for one child, the local authority can receive £32,320. For two children placed, £53,867. For three children out of a family home placed, they will receive £75,413. 4 children, £96,960 to put them into fostering to potential adoption placement. For 5 children or more, that is to be negotiated. You're negotiating with taking a family and splitting them up in all directions because you've been poisoned by bloody elites with more money than sense. Full job description here. We have job details in Wales, a salary between £35 to £40 an hour for a social worker. Child protection, £40 an hour Wales, following a service review. Think about that. Why would you be paying a social worker between £35 and £40 an hour? Because you are exploiting them to do what otherwise a decent person wouldn't do. Instead of their compass staying north, their compass starts switching to south. Yeah? They start taking those very type of people in with the belief that there's so much heinous crime against children. Mate, in social services, put the brakes on and stopped going after any family for any reason, right? They could then concentrate on being available to stopping children dying in the very houses where it is happening. But they're not, they're too busy with their heads cranked the other way. Fostering in Hammersmith. With Sunbeam Fostering Agency. Well, you can receive up to £700 per child. £700 per child per week. That is in Hammersmith alone, one borough out of 32 in London. You can get out of Hammersmith Council, via the taxpayer, £700 per child per week if you become a foster parent. It's saying by a general average, the annual spend on a foster place for a child is between £131,000 to £135,000 a year. So let's break this down. For a child, yeah, on a year basis to be in the fostering system through social services, they have to pay out of your taxpayer pocket, your hard earnings, £131,000 to £135,000 a year for one child to be kept in social services against the family's wishes, against the child's wishes, whether they realise it at a young age, they know they want to be home. Right, like him or not, I will tell you this. Like Donald Trump went to go and break with all the law enforcement agencies at his disposal in America, the child trafficking networks, underground. States quite categorically here, Putin vows to crush child traffickers in Ukraine by Michael Baxter, February 28th, 2022. Is it anyone's guess when child trafficking and exploitation is at its highest level in this current climate that you have people that are entrusted, sorry mate, that you have people entrusted to run our affairs in so-called governments, trying their hand to bring down a person that wants to bring down child trafficking throughout Ukraine and out through the Eastern Bloc and the rest of the Eastern Hemisphere, right? You wonder why they're telling you what they're telling you through mainstream media, because like what they've done with Donald Trump, who was working against the child trafficking networks, they've done the same to him, and they brought in a fucking paedophile. Check out Hunter Biden, check out Joe Biden, they've got more fingers in more pies in Ukraine than you realise. If MI5 like to come after me in MI6, you're welcome. Yeah, I'll give you a run for your money. Yeah, if you don't like my speaking out, maybe you should do your jobs better and do what you're supposed to do, and that is not just protect and defend the realm, protect us, the sovereign citizens, from the very exploiters, the corrupt. More so our children. It costs an average of £4,208 a week to keep a child in private care home in Somerset alone. The Bureau of Investigative Journalism has said that. It says in the year overspend on children's services in Somerset was £14.6 million, an overspend by social services. Is there any wonder why? Because they're being exploited by cash incentives or bonuses, performance bonus and bonus schemes, to do this, to take more children, to do this, to facilitate an ever-increasing demand every year. More children to more directions than we can imagine. Right. Sabine McNeill. Sabine McNeill addressed, I believe it was a committee of possibly bureaucrats in Europe, politicians in Europe. She was telling them about the heinous horrors in Britain. She was explaining about how social services were being pitted by our governments, consecutive governments as well. Remember, these people are still here 20 years, 30 years on with new faces in government, exploiting, taking an average of minimum 1,200 children a month out of their homes. That was then. That was back around. She was in prison for 7 years for going out there to do this and for taking on the elites in Hampstead that are behind apparently the occult of sacrificing kids. Let's not get into all that. But that's Sabine McNeill. Spoke out passionately about what was happening in Britain, stuck her neck out, not a British citizen, stuck her neck out for our children and for us and our future generations. Sabine McNeill. Yeah, she's not a British national, she just happens to have the surname McNeill, which is obviously Scottish, somehow. My good friend mentioned Melanie Shaw. Research Melanie Shaw. She was in the system. She was passed around, unfortunately, to say it like a flipping basketball, all right? She spoke out and they then, as an adult, tried to make her out to be mentally incompetent, put her in, I think, Rampton. Was it Rampton?
Yeah, they
Yeah, basically for speaking out, yeah? To expose, again, as a whistleblower, yeah? Carol Woods, a former social worker, became a whistleblower. She decided to explain what the true element of social services are up to. Imprisoned for speaking out. Again. You can also research a survivor and campaigner, Sammy Woodhouse. Sammy Woodhouse working against, obviously, the fabric of the elite, against the British Empire. Right, I thought I'd put this one for good measure. Ethelbert Specialist Homes Limited. Ethelbert Specialist Homes. They're in Ramsgate, Kent. They've got themselves registered here as being involved with photography. Yeah? This is Ethelbert Specialist Homes Limited. Photography, that's what they've got themselves registered as. Well, I can tell you this. In their latest financial results, as of the 31st of March of 2020, they had £1.71 million in their bank account. They are a network for fostering children. But they got themselves down as registered as photography. Yeah, that's what their remit is. Yeah, small modest photography company apparently in Ramsgate with cash in the bank of 1.71 million. That's because they are trafficking children. Current assets, 2.29 million. Fixed assets, yeah? All right, let's not mention that. 4.86 million, yeah. Let's cut that. Yeah, that's a big one. Right. Andy Elvin is a CEO for a charity called TACT, which provides lower cost foster care for 760 children in the UK. He said it's obscene. These companies are set up for one reason only, and that is to make profit. So this is a CEO of a fostering agency called TACT, which provides lower cost care. And he is saying these companies that are basically muscling in through fostering, through networking with social services, he's stating that they are exploiting. Alright? Take care. Children are being taken into care. It's completely wrong and doesn't put the child first. They shouldn't be making all this money from placing children in foster care. It's just an industry. And in my case, it was not for the benefit of Alyssa at all, whoever that be. I still think about her every day. I don't know what inspired him to be involved in that. The rising child care removals by councils, which last year overspent something on the line of 800 million on child social care. Overspent. Britain, social services, overspent 800 million on child care. That's your money. That's your money as well as maybe a family member of yours. Or maybe not at the moment, maybe a week from now, a month from now, I hope not. Maybe a year from now, I hope not. Might be a family member of yours gets put in this system. 800 million overspend on child social care. We know why, because of how many children they're taking for their own pockets and then having to go into fostering and paying for those placements and what I told you about. Here we have Lara Trump, daughter of former President of America, Donald Trump. Lara states, parents are speaking up and they're speaking out resoundingly and they're realising that these people, i.e. in social services, so-called social care, child protection services in America, have never cared about the best interests of these kids. That is Donald Trump's daughter, stating categorically about child protection services in America. We have a tweet from Greg Sinclair on the 22nd of February of this year via Twitter. The UK social services are not a service at all, but a terrorist organisation. Do not engage with them. They use Nazi rhetorics to force their victims into positions and questions that they cannot answer to either way, to then abduct kids to supply their own internal foster agencies. Yes? You don't have to just take my word and what I say on this mic. All this is coming from all directions, from people you know of, from people you are hearing about. SS being basically secret service, secret police in Germany. Basically the British social services are now referred to as the SS, and this is good reason why. The terminology in the best interest of the children or the child was a concept that was invented by Adolf Hitler. So what he was saying to his own countrymen and women, to his own delegation, his own constituents, is that whatever he was saying, whatever his government would say is what's in the best interests of your children. So that is what social services of Great Britain have adopted. They've adopted this terminology that Adolf Hitler invented. Around the time he killed many husbands and wives and children. And this principle, pretty much is the same, because what they're doing to families, what they're doing to these children, when these children turn 12, 13, 14, start having a better understanding, I mean of life, of things, questions, when they find out that they are living a lie with a plastic family, a plastic home, not their own family, not their own home, regrettably, they do start to have issues. They regress at school, like you heard earlier about Ashley, in the homes, looking to be sexually exploited if she hadn't got out of that caravan after being given alcohol. These children then have regression. Not because of what they've gone through by their family allegedly at the hands of social services claims, but what the system has been doing to them year after year. You think that these people are in it for looking after a child? Look at the incentive, £700 per child per week in Hounslow alone for a child to be in a foster placement. That's your incentive right there. So these children are being exploited. They then end up going on to medication, which is a pharmaceutical company's dream, which a lot of these ministers and their family members have stakes in. They have stakes in pharmacy, drugs. So these children are passed through a system, then come out at the age of 12, 13, 14 with understanding what's really the truth, but this ain't their real family, this ain't their real home. And they end up on medication, and they end up basically, eventually on drugs, i.e. controlled drugs, not classed as pharmaceutical drugs. These are basically anything that they get offered by people that they look to exploit them on top. So your child could have the risk of overdosing, They could end up in crime. They could end up, which helps the police numbers, of course. Young people committing crime helps keep the police numbers warranted, along with everything else. But these children then could end up being exploited by a drug dealer, pimped out, end up having a baby, then that baby gets taken by a social worker. Think about the damage being done to that kid through what a system that the British people, the British Commonwealth, are expected to still to this day believe has the children's best interest at heart when they actually remove them out of a home. I've seen sickness, mate. Believe me, you don't want to see that. You don't want to feel what I'm feeling. I've seen this sickness over a prolonged period of years now. It consumes you. It hurts. It worries you for your children whilst they're in the system. It worries you for their future, their so-called future. Straining me just thinking about what I'm saying.